depictions baseball, and then just a couple of very short extracts from real games. So this first one is from this book called Bottom of the Ninth. It's a short stories. It's called Baseball by Ray Gonzalez. The home run ball rose over right field and disappeared before it started its downward arc. The right fielder backed into the warning path, but there was no ball to catch. He stood dazed as the roar of the crowd turned to confusion. Thousands of fans were on their feet for the home run. Where was it? The hitter, the national hero, who led the league in home runs, slowed to a hesitant jog as he rounded first base. The first and second basemen stood at their positions, one of them removing his cap from his head as he searched the night sky for the ball. The hitter nodded to the closest umpire, as if asking permission to keep running the bases, though he kept going. Managers, coaches, and players from both benches came out of the dugout. Unable to lower their heads from searching for the ball, some of the players stumbled over each other in front of the dugouts. The manager of the team, back, waved to his batter to keep running. The opposing manager ran toward one of the umpires. There was no ball, just the memory of the loud clap as the player's bat met the ball and sent it rocketing toward the right field bleachers. The ball's rapid trajectory was the last thing anyone recalled before it vanished. Thousands of witnesses amplified their stunned silence with a magnetic restlessness. With two men on base, the home run would give the visiting team a 3-2 lead in the first game of the World Series. It was the bottom half of the sixth inning. Where was the ball? As the hitter, his mouth agape, rounded third and headed home, the right fielder ran as fast as he could toward the second base umpire. With his confused manager joining him, both men screamed at the umpire to do something. The right fielder claimed the ball had not been hit hard enough for a home run. He screamed that he was in position to catch it when it vanished. His manager yelled that the 3 runs should not count because there was no ball hit out of the park. The opposing manager was welcoming his hero at home plate. He was not going to argue with anybody, even though he had no idea what had happened to the ball. In his book, it was a home run, and the ball's speed and height made that obvious to the entire stadium before it disappeared. The beleaguered umpire at second base walked towards the umpire at first. He was surrounded by angry players and one red-faced manager. The first base umpire was coming to his defense when suddenly the ball appeared in lights. It fell where the right fielder was previously standing and settled in the warning pad. Thousands of spectators saw it, and both teams saw it. They pointed, screamed, and waved, but it was too late. The bases had been run. 3 men had scored, and it would be ruled an inside park home run. The last thing reported in the sports pages of every major newspaper was the right fielder running from the umpire he had been attacking to the ball in the right field corner. He picked it up out of the dirt and stared at it. What was not reported was his surprise at how old and yellow the baseball was. The stitches were coming off, and the ball was slightly warped. Some balls looked like that after a good hit, but this one was different. He threw it to the cutoff man at second, who also noticed how old the ball was. He picked it out of his glove and handed it to the umpire, who was recovering from being attacked. When the umpire realized he had not seen this brand of baseball since his dirt lot days in the 50s, he tucked it into his coat pocket. The home plate umpire threw out another ball. When the papers carried the story, the second base umpire was surprised no sports writer asked him about the ball. Maybe it was because the home team won the game by a score of 5-3, three more runs coming on base hits. After the game, the umpire took his coat off in the umpire's dressing room and searched the pockets, but couldn't find the antique ball. That's the first story. Can you hear it again? Okay, so this second story found on the internet is called The Slum, and it's by Stephanie Bailey. The game ended at 10:35 on Friday night. It had been a long one with numerous pitching changes. The opposing team hit a grand slam in the top of the ninth off of the star relief pitcher after he was brought onto the game. Manager still had confidence in Moore, the reliever, but the sports journalist had very little left in him. Moore had been struggling on the mound as he's blown the last four saves. The truth of the matter was that Jameson Moore was in a slump, and Devon McFadden had to write about it for the newspaper. Grueling business, actually, when it came down to it. Writing on a beat covering a baseball team required sports reporters to cover and write about 162 games a year and travel with the ball club every trip they made. McFadden had lived out of a suitcase when he began his career, as he traveled all over the country to cover the games for the Herald, sacrificing a relationship with Estella in the process. She realized after a couple of seasons that she didn't want to be alone most of the year. But at least she had the guts to be honest with him. Other would have made an excuse. But she was brutally honest. If I'm going to be in a relationship with someone, I actually want to be able to see the person more than I don't see him, she had said. And that was that. Last year, he had been promoted to a columnist, but it was too late to salvage the relationship with Estella. She had moved on to a young financier. McFadden remained in the city, writing about the team from his own perspective, where he could be both observant and critical. McFadden wasn't devoid of emotions, and he tried to keep them in perspective in his new role at the paper. He knew what baseball was all about. He had played at a high level in college. There was even a point when he thought he might have a chance at the minors, but an arm injury prevented that from happening, and he devoted himself to writing about sports. His career started with an internship at a small local paper in his hometown, and then he made the jump to the top paper in the city. Before long, the beat reporter covering the team relocated to cover a team on the West Coast, and McFadden slid into his spot. After 5 years as a beat writer and now serving as a sports columnist for the paper, he felt himself grow weary of it all. On Saturday, during batting practice, the prospective Hall of Famer Andres Martinez walked over to McFadden on the field. It was sunny and warm, the clouds high in the sky making it a perfect afternoon for baseball. Why are you giving Moore such a hard time in the paper? Dude, he's doing his best. You've got to go easy on him. McFadden looked up at Moore as he had several inches on him and was built like a brick house and said, "It's my job, man. I've got to cover what I see happening." But he's not slumping. He's just having a little rough patch. Where I come from, after doing what he's done repeatedly for a few weeks and getting a few losses in pollen, we call it a slump. Martinez scratched his head. He liked McFadden. He'd always been fair. But he was unhappy with the way Moore's playing had been scrutinized. That was his buddy he was writing about negatively. Try to go easy on him. He's struggling. He just wants to get his groove back. We all wanted to get his groove back, management and the fans especially. Martinez walked away and into the batter's box to take his swings. His bat looked good. He had $1 million swing. But more than that, Martinez had $1 million attitude. He was the leader in the clubhouse. All the guys looked up to him. He was a faithful supporter of his teammates and a devoted friend to Moore. The two of them were inseparable. They had been since they both joined the team 7 years ago. McFadden walked closer to the batter's box and leaned on the cage, watching Martinez take swing after swing, each one looking better than the last. He should write about that, McFadden thought. He should write about this seasoned player, his leadership role, and the way he works hard every day to be an all-star and future Hall of Famer. McFadden pulled out his reporter's notebook and started to jot down some notes. Why don't you write about something positive tonight, like how these balls are flying out of this park? Martinez shouted at him. McFadden's eyes narrowed. Show me what you can do in tonight's game, and I'll think about it. Martinez back. Martinez's eyes grew wide and he nodded his head. I'll show you, he said. At game time, McFadden took his spot in the press box. His elevated status of columnist warranted a front-row seat, situated just a few chairs away from the public relations director of the ball club. Night after night and day after day, he sat there, his laptop plugged in, writing about a variety of things that were going on, from the play on the field to the management changes and minor league call-ups, to timely topics such as analytics and defensive shifts. Sometimes it all felt new. Sometimes it all felt tired. When he felt like this, worn out by baseball's lengthy home and road schedule, by August, he had to remember why he was here in the first place. It was because of this ballpark, with its classic retro feel of ballparks of yore. It was because of this game with heroes McFadden loved, such as Gehrig and Ruth, Amenti and Robinson. And it was because of the aura of a night filled with scents of popcorn, Cracker Jack, and the more modern cinnamon pretzels and barbecue. He had to remind himself often that although this occupation had the potential to take its toll on people, he'd seen it happen to many people he knew over the years. It was a job done for the sheer love of it. The sturdy breeze blew into the press box from the outfield, and he fell in love with it all over again, as he'd done time and time again when he wasn't sure he could write about yet another game, another disappointment. McFadden had his eye on Martinez that night. He was waiting for him to put his money where his mouth was during tonight's matchup. He was poised and ready to construct something glowing about it. He knew the fans could use an article that gave them hope, that gave them something to cheer for as the season began to wind down. Martinez's first at-bat resulted in a triple, his 10th of the season. But McFadden remembered what he had said during batting practice earlier. I'm chasing Willie Mays triples, McFadden. Do more, and I'll hit that 140 career high set by Mays. Maybe you'll get there sooner than later, McFadden said back to him encouragingly. This triple bagger tonight brought him to 135, closer to tying May's career triples total. Martinez was obsessed with Mays. He'd been his grandfather's favorite, and he had met Mays as a kid. Both he and his grandfather could recite May's stats. And although Martinez had a long way to go to break some of the other more impressive triples totals, he set his sights on May's 140 number to make his grandfather proud. It was yet another quality that made Martinez both likable and a force to reckon with on the team. He was a goal setter. The opposing teams' backs were hot that night, unfortunately, and there was little Martinez could do to get some runs on the board, but he was the only guy hitting that afternoon. The rest of the team looked lethargic. It was going to be another long game, and McFadden began to fear it would be another painful night of disappointment as he repositioned himself to get more comfortable in the press box. And then something changed, as can often happen in sports. Martinez's back continued to stay hot, and some of the other players started a rally. The team bounced back in the 7th and 8th inning and scored 6 runs to take a 1-run lead. That meant Moore would come into the game. That meant all eyes would be on Moore, one stellar closer who was clearly smack in the middle of his first ever slump. McFadden felt his palms start to sweat, as they often did lately when this reliever was brought into the game in the top of the ninth, when his pitches were wild. Patience seemed off. Moore stood on the mound and warmed up. His throws looked a little more controlled, a little more confident. He adjusted his cap after every pitch to the catcher, looked down at his feet, and set himself up for the next warm-up throw. When the umpires were set and Moore was ready to take his first pitch, he threw it beautifully. The home plate umpire called it loudly, "Strike!" The second pitch Moore threw was on the inside edge of the plate. "Strike!" called by the home plate umpire. The third pitch, well, McFadden could see what happened, but it came off Moore's fingers. It was a fastball, but it was thrown down the middle, perfectly aligned for the batter to hit it on the sweet spot for a double. McFadden watched Moore shake his head. He watched the confidence get sucked out of him right then and there as it happened. Moore tried to settle himself as the crowd suddenly became quiet, nervous. There was a visit to the mound by the pitching coach. The on-deck batter stepped into the batter's box. He stared down Moore with a look of sheer power. He was a huge guy and was leading his team in RBIs. Moore set and then threw. The sound the bat made indicated it was a good hit, a damn good one. It soared ahead of the center fielder and into the crowd behind him. The homer scored 2 runs. Now Moore's team was down by a run, and Martinez may not bat at the bottom of the ninth. The crowd grew sullen and the energy inside the park dissipated. The fans began to enter the exit ballpark, either expecting their team to lose or simply not wanting to watch the tragedy continue to unfold. McFadden himself moved to the back of the press box, the stand, as he watched the final half inning. He knew the focus of his piece for tomorrow's column couldn't be about Martinez and his stellar talents and the chase for Willie Mays' triples career total, but rather it had to be about Moore's collapse, about the star reliever who had lost his confidence and was experiencing an excruciatingly painful, undeniable slump. It was Sunday at the ballpark, and despite the sunshine and crisp blue skies, the tones surrounding the club felt dismal. It's neither fun to play for a losing ball club, nor is it any fun to write about a losing ball. McFadden walked into the clubhouse early, as players were suiting up for the early afternoon game and preparing for batting practice. The music was already thumping in the ballpark, and the vibrations could be felt in the clubhouse. The morning newspaper had been delivered. "Get him out of here," Moore shouted, directing his instruction to the clubhouse manager, pointing to McFadden, as the guys were dressing and doing their media interviews. The room became silent, still. Everyone looked at McFadden. "I don't want him in here, and I don't want to talk to him," Moore shouted again. Martinez, watching his friend become unglued, walked over to McFadden and put his arm around him and guided him away from his upset friend. "Stop talking to him," Moore shouted at Martinez. "I got this," Martinez said, turning around and addressing Moore, gently escorting McFadden in the direction of the door. "You had to go and write about him again, didn't you?" Martinez said quietly, as a statement rather than a question. "It's my job. His job is to get saves and wins. Mine is to write what's happening. Can't follow. Maybe just lay low for a while. Let him get his mojo back." Fadden looked at Martinez, who was a nice guy. He understood that Martinez just wanted to protect his friend who seemed to be experiencing a bit of a mental block, breakdown. "Today I'll lay low," McFadden said. "I like the guy. It's nothing personal," he said. "But to him it's only personal. You've got to understand that," Martinez said. "It's a game, Martinez. You've got to take the good and the bad with it. You can't ask us writers to coddle things."
Love you, Grandma.
"Oh, well, let him take the bad by himself today. We don't need you asking him questions about what happened out there yesterday. We all know what happened out there yesterday. I want to win some games too, and I want to catch Willie Mays." Fadden patted Martinez on the back. "Then go and do it," McFadden said. "I've got a piece ready to publish when you get that 140th.
Oh, Grandma.
"Oh, you go polish that piece," Martinez said. "I'll take care of the rest." Those are weird. Okay, so those are the two pictures. So now I'm going to read just a couple of real life happenings. Also not happy for the pictures, but told from the perspective of the hitters, which they were very happy. So unfortunately, what's sad for his size. So you have to mute it, Si. So this one is called, just briefly, from it's the Zoom size on the Zoom. Well, the headline is "The Shot Heard Around the World, Baseball." The shot heard around the world is from the 1837 poem Concord Hymn by Ralph Waldo Emerson about the first clash of the American Revolutionary War, and has been popularly applied to several dramatic historical moments. In baseball, the shot heard around the world was a walk-off home run hit by New York Giants outfielder and third baseman Bobby Thompson of Brooklyn Dodgers pitcher Ralph Branca at the Polo Grounds in New York City on October 3rd, 1951, to win the National League pennant. Thompson's dramatic three-run homer came in the bottom of the ninth inning of the decisive third game of a three-game playoff for the pennant, in which the Giants trailed 4-1 entering the ninth and 4-2 with two runners on base, the time of Thompson's at-bat. The game was seen by millions of viewers across America and heard on radio by millions more, including thousands of American servicemen stationed in Korea, listening on armed forces radio. Thompson stepped to the plate in the bottom of the ninth inning with one out, two runners on, and the Giants trailing by 2 runs. Several television and radio broadcasters captured the moment for baseball fans in the New York City area and nationwide. The best-known live description, arguably the most famous call in sports, was delivered by Russ Hodges, who was broadcasting the game on WMCA AM radio for Giants fans. His call captured the suddenness, exultation of the home run.
Well, and
Ranker thrown. There's a long fly. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants win the pennant. 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 Bobby hit is into the lower deck of the left field stands. The Giants win the pennant and they're going crazy. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I will not believe it. Bobby Thompson hit a line drive into the lower deck of the left field stands and the place is going crazy. The Giants, Horace Stodham has got a winner. The Giants win it by a score of 5-4. They're picking Bobby Thompson up and carrying him off the field. Now, the follow-up is they made it to the World Series. Unfortunately, the Giants lost the ensuing World Series to the Yankees in 3 games. So, win some, you lose some. And to bring us up to date, this is what happened on Sunday, right? This past Sunday. We're now in the middle of everyone vying to be in the playoffs and the World Series. So things are getting wound up here. This is a game in Los Angeles with the Dodgers against the Colorado Rockies. And Shohei Ohtani hit a tying home run in the 9th inning, and Mookie Betts followed with a game-ending drive as the Los Angeles Dodgers rallied for a 6-5 victory over the Colorado Rockies on Sunday to maintain their 3-game lead in the National League West. This is how it happened. Leading off in the bottom of the 9th inning, after the Dodgers had rallied in the later innings to come within a run over the Rockies, but the Rockies were still leading by 5-4. Ohtani lifted Ted Halvorson's 4th offering, an 89-mile-per-hour split-finger pitch over the wall in right center for his 53rd home run this season to tie the game at 5-4. Betts then hit a walk-off homer to left field on a 101-mile-per-hour sinker from Halvorsen for his 19th in the season. This is from Betts. It was huge, especially when you're looking at the scoreboard and you see San Diego won, Betts said. I didn't mean to look at it, but they won. We needed to win a game there. Shohei starts it off with a homer there to give us some energy. Fortunately, I was able to put a good swing on it. So, it's baseball for you guys.